Well, I'm a faculty member in the marketing department, and I teach primarily two courses, Marketing 303, which is the Honors Marketing Theory and Practice course that really is an introduction to marketing for honors students across business disciplines. And I also teach Marketing 442, which is the Services Marketing Strategy course, which is a capstone for marketing students.
The subjects that I teach here in the WPC School of Business is basically the management department's Management 300 course. It's our Principles of Management course. It's taught in a large-scale format. Every semester I teach from 2 sections to 3 sections. It's about 400 students in most of the sections.
I teach Accounting 242, which is Introductory Managerial Accounting for accounting and finance majors. Additionally, I'm going to be teaching Accounting 350, which is Intermediate Cost Accounting for accounting and finance majors, again, starting next spring.
I have been teaching for 16 years, all of them here at ASU.
That's an excellent question. I've been teaching, let's see, probably since 1989, so I don't even have a calculator with me right now, but let's just say a long time.
I started as a TA during my undergraduate accounting program, way back when I won't say any years. This is my 5th year here at ASU as a professor, and I've always taught accounting classes.
Well, first, my dad is also a professor of marketing at ASU, and we actually have our offices right next to each other, which is a lot of fun. When I was an undergraduate student here at ASU, I was a psychology major, and my honors thesis director was Robert Cialdini, who is internationally known for his work on social influence. I actually met my husband, Troy, who also works at ASU, 9 years ago at an ASU Cares community service event. We both walked up to the registration check-in desk at the same time. And I think last but not least, I think at the end of this semester I will be directing my 60th honors thesis.
Interesting facts, I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm actually a master fisherman. That's one of my big hobbies. I am a long-distance running addict. My favorite sports team, I root for the Sun Devils in almost every situation that there is, except one, if they're ever playing Louisiana State University, because that's my home, where I grew up.
Some interesting facts. I married my high school sweetheart, which I guess is not terribly common anymore. We get made fun of a lot for it. I've been to 5 of the 7 continents, including the 2 best beer bars in the world. I have Great Danes. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I've seen Paul McCartney, Billy Joel, and Elton John all live. I think that's pretty cool.
So I was inspired to be a professor really because of my parents. I really got the opportunity to, watch them make positive contributions to the lives of their students. In my mom's case, for 3-year-olds, and to my dad, college students, and it was wonderful. And also when I was an undergraduate here, I had the opportunity to have just wonderful faculty members who helped me, encouraged me, mentored me, and they also were very, very inspiring.
I worked for a professor, and he became ill, and he needed someone to take over his class one night, and I did. It was an organizational behavior class. I didn't have a clue of what I was doing, but I remember the first time I stepped in a classroom, I knew that's where I belonged.
I took my very first cost accounting class my sophomore year at Texas A&M University, and absolutely fell in love with the subject and the professor, the charisma that she had for the subject. A year later, I started TAing for her. We got very close and learned what the profession held. I learned about what being an academic really meant. I learned about teaching and researching, and that pushed me to go and get my PhD and follow in her footsteps.
As a service researcher and somebody that's studied service excellence and what drives service quality, that I really think of myself as a service provider and that my students are customers, and I try to really apply all that I know about providing great service to the classroom day in and day out.
I like a high energy classroom. I believe in order to learn, it needs to be fun, and I try to make it fun. I don't mean easy, but I mean fun. I also believe what's unique about my class is I don't think there's one best way, and that is every class period I'm open to taking the road less traveled.
I think the thing that probably I feel makes me the most unique is that I really try and take a subject that has a difficult vocabulary that's difficult for a lot of people to understand and really explain it on a very simple level and in very much layman's terms.
I think students learn best when they really are actively engaged in the learning process. So I think it's really important that they're getting a chance to talk about their own experiences and apply their skills, because I think that's when they're going to learn that information the best.
I think they learn best, one, if they see that you're trying. They may not agree with you, they may not like you, but if they see that you are trying to make the class material come to life, and that every day you bring your A game, whether you didn't sleep the night before, whether your kids are sick, doesn't matter.
So I think the key is making them want to come to the classroom, and I think that you can do that in a number of ways. People always ask me, don't you have trouble with your students being on their phones or on their computers during class? And I really don't, and I think the reason is that I add something in the classroom above and beyond what they can learn outside of the classroom.
Things like critical thinking, being able to analyze information and marshal evidence, being able to structure problems effectively, being able to write, present, and communicate effectively. Students that can do all of those things well are very, very successful.
My research bias is going to come through when I answer this, but the bulk of what I research is the topic of self-leadership, how people can lead themselves. And I think if students have self-leadership skills, the ability to overcome setbacks and challenges to their goals, they're going to succeed.
In the classes that I teach, they're very different from the majority of accounting classes in that they're not very much rule-based. It's not a class where you're learning debits and credits. It's a class where you're really understanding what happens in business. You're trying to understand business problems, how real businesses function.
My goals are really just to continue to talk with students and alumni and recruiters and executives to really figure out what are the skills that students really need to be successful, and what kind of opportunities and new courses could we put in place that will help students be successful. And I think it's really something that always needs to be ongoing. Things change in the environment, and so I'm always kind of wanting to make sure that we're doing all that we can in the marketing department, and I'm doing everything I can to really help students be successful.
My future goals as a professor is just to keep, go back to my mission, to keep helping as many people as I can. At the end of the day, as a professor, the hardest lesson to learn is not everyone's going to like what you do in the classroom. What I want to do is not to get people to like me, but to get them to say, hey, in next class, he really gave it all he could to try to connect with me to make the material in Management 300 and related management classes come to life. And it's just to keep, my goal is to keep getting better.
To get tenure, but I'm sure everybody says that. I think my most important goal as a professor would really probably be to be a continuing resource for the students. I think that our job doesn't end when the semester ends. I think that the most joy I get out of teaching is several years later when a student contacts me to let me know a position that they're in or a job change that they're involved in, or writing a letter of recommendation for a student who's decided to change their career path and go into law or go into medicine. I think it's most rewarding when you know that you've had an impact on someone else's life. And so I think hearing from students in the future is probably the most rewarding experience for me. So I just hope to continue to provide that for my students that I've had in the past and the students that I'll have in the future.